The Witch Sisters of Rainy Season. Louisiana. It was raining hard in Bayou Falls, Louisiana. The kind of rain that comes sideways and makes you feel personally targeted. Sandra was in her kitchen making fried catfish and hush puppies and feeling sorry for herself in a productive way. Cloud with rain. The roof was leaking in 3 places. Her husband Roy was out somewhere trying to sell produce from their roadside stand, which in this rain was approximately as successful as selling ice in Antarctica. They had $11 in the checking account, and Sandra had been stretching a bag of cornmeal for 6 days. Then someone knocked on the door. Sandra opened it to find 2 women standing on her porch. Sisters, clearly. Same wide eyes, same sharp cheekbones, same expression of someone who has found what they were looking for and is very pleased about it. They were completely dry despite the rain hitting everything around them. "Hi there," said the one on the left. Her name, she said, was Mabel. "We smelled your cooking from the road." "Lord, that smells good." "Smells like heaven," said the one on the right, whose name was Dolly. "What is that catfish?" Sandra looked at them. She looked at the rain. She looked at how dry they were in the middle of that rain. "Don't want to come in," she said. Because she was from Louisiana and you invited people in. That was just what you did. She would think about this decision many times over the next 2 weeks. Anxious face with sweat, Mabel and Dolly came in and sat at the kitchen table and watched Sandra cook with the focused appreciation of people who have been eating something very different for a very long time and have almost forgotten what good food looks like. "You are an artist," Mabel said when Sandra set the plate down. "This is the best thing I have eaten in 40 years, Dolly said. "You're not that old," Sandra said. Dolly smiled in a way that didn't answer the question. Sandra sat across from them and watched them eat and felt the first small wrongness.
Rust creeping up its metal frame, one pane of glass cracked clean across the middle, and standing inside it, facing away from the road with his back to Daniel's headlights, was a man, just standing there, perfectly still, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night, with no car anywhere nearby and no reason in the world for anyone to be out on that road on foot. The reflection that wasn't there. Daniel slowed the car without really meaning to, some old animal instinct pulling his foot off the gas before his mind had caught up with why. As his headlights swept across the bus stop, lighting up that cracked glass pane behind the man, Daniel's whole body went cold at once. The man's reflection wasn't in the glass. Daniel could see the frame of the shelter clearly, the rusted metal bench, even his own headlights bouncing off the pane at just the right angle to throw a reflection back at him. But no matter how the light hit that glass, the man standing directly in front of it simply wasn't there in the reflection at all. Just an empty bus stop, reflected back, with nobody standing in it. Daniel's foot found the gas pedal again without him consciously deciding to press it. He drove past that bus stop faster than he'd driven anything in his life, his hands locked so tight on the wheel his knuckles went white, refusing to look back, refusing to even glance in his side mirror in case the man had turned around. He told himself, driving hard down that dark road with his heart slamming in his chest, that it had to be some trick of the light, some strange angle, some rational explanation his scared brain just hadn't landed on yet. Then, a few seconds later, only a few seconds, no more than that, Daniel's eyes flicked up to his rearview mirror, and the man was sitting in his back seat. What was riding with him? Daniel would tell people afterward, on the rare occasions he ever told this story out loud at all, that the strangest part wasn't the fear. It was how calm
At all. It was the town's old silversmith, a man named Eli Granger. But you moved away 6 months ago. That's exactly what I wanted people to think. I never left. I've been right here, in this cellar. Everyone stood in shock. But the story wasn't over yet. What about everything stolen from people's houses? Travis asked. I took all of it. I started the witch rumor myself. People stayed scared, and I kept stealing in peace. Then Harold's face went pale. With a trembling voice, he asked, and the woman from 25 years ago, who was she? Eli's expression changed completely. Fear crept into his eyes. For the first time, he looked genuinely terrified. That's exactly why I started all this. 25 years ago, my mother lived in this very town. People thought she was a witch, because at night she'd carry 3 clay jars on her head, walking to the next town over to sell water. One night, a group of people mistook her for a witch and killed her. Before she died, she said the truth would come out one day. When I grew up, I learned what had happened to her. I wanted revenge. I brought the jar woman's story back so the town would be afraid, so they'd understand how dangerous rumors can be. But over time, the greed took over. I started stealing. Everyone fell silent. It seemed like the mystery was finally solved. Then, suddenly, a woman's voice came from inside the cellar. Eli, Eli. The voice was perfectly clear. Eli, it's time to go now. Eli's face turned white as paper. No, this can't be happening. A sudden cold wind burst out from inside the cellar, and then everyone saw it. A hazy figure standing in the darkness of the cellar. 3 jars on her head. This time, it wasn't Eli. The figure standing before them slowly began to move forward. Eli screamed in pure terror. No, this can't be, no. A sudden gust of wind swept through. A few seconds later, when the light returned, the figure was gone. But Eli was lying unconscious on the Now, Caleb stammered, backing away. Before anyone could answer, a voice echoed through the trees. It didn't come from the woman. It came from everywhere at once, a hollow, grating sound that vibrated inside their skulls. Those who disturb my rest never see the dawn. Jax shone his tactical light directly at her feet. He choked back a scream. Her feet were completely backward, twisted entirely in reverse, hovering inches above the dead grass. Run, Ethan yelled. They bolted into the darkness, sprinting back toward the iron gates. They ran for what felt like miles, lungs burning, branches tearing at their clothes. But as the fog parted ahead of them, they stopped in absolute horror. They were standing right back in front of the massive oak tree. No. This is impossible. Logan panicked, turning around and sprinting in the opposite direction. The others followed. 5 minutes of hard running later, they broke through the tree line, only to find themselves looking at the oak tree yet again. The orchard was a loop, an impossible, supernatural maze. And each time they returned, the woman in the crimson dress was floating closer to them, her backward feet gliding silently through the air. Act 4, The Sanctuary. Think. We need to think. Ethan shouted over the sound of a rising, unnatural wind. She's targeting our fear. She's keeping us trapped here. But look, when she moves away from the oak tree, she slows down. Her power is anchored to that tree. Over there, Jax pointed toward a crumbling stone structure half buried in vines. It was an old colonial-era chapel, abandoned for over a century. They ran inside the ruined chapel just as a terrifying, high-pitched screech tore through the night. The woman floated to the threshold of the chapel but slammed into an invisible barrier, unable to cross the threshold. Inside the chapel's ruined altar, Caleb stumbled upon an old metal lockbox. He pried it open with a pocket knife. Inside lay an old iron.